Hello, everyone. For those of you who may have been around young babies, you may have wondered about their behavior. Why do babies do that? That's the topic of this short screencast. Why do they frantically turn their heads side to side with their mouth open? Have you noticed that? A very young baby? Why do they twitch and smile during sleep? That's a little bit eerie, but they do that. Why do they flail out their arms and legs? When you look at the topics of looking at the newborn's health through the Apgar scale assessment, as well as the topic of survival capabilities through reflexes and motor skills, you find a lot of the answers to the questions of newborn and infant behavior during this phase of physical development. So the Apgar scale is an acronym for appearance, pulse, grimace, activity, and respiration. And it is a test that all newborns are given as soon as they come out of the womb to assess things like, is their blood flowing correctly, and therefore is this reflected in their appearance? Do they have a healthy heartbeat, a pulse? How are their reflexes? That's the grimace part. How are their motor skills? And finally, are they breathing normally? So that's the Apgar scale, and I encourage you to watch the video that is posted on Canvas. Babies are born with many reflexes. They're not born completely as a blank slate. So they have automatic responses that evolution has equipped them with to survive, at least immediately after coming out of the womb. So these reflexes, like for example, breathing, blinking, sucking, etc., clearly serve a survival value. Also, they are precursors to later voluntary motor behaviors. Meaning, for example, if you ever place a young baby standing on a flat surface and hold them up, they will start stepping in this walking motion, even though they can't walk yet. That's a reflex. Nobody's taught them that. They were born with it, or it appeared shortly after birth, and it is a precursor for walking later on. So these reflexes eventually go away, some sooner than others. For example, take the Moro reflex that's illustrated here on the bottom right corner. This is when babies suddenly get startled and flail out their arms and legs sometimes. This is thought to be also an evolutionary reflex. Its purpose is not necessarily all that well understood, but perhaps it was for grasping onto something when babies were suddenly falling out of somewhere. So that's the Moro reflex. I definitely observed that in my baby. For those of you who have babies, you've probably seen this. They even do it in their sleep. And it's pretty interesting to watch. On the bottom left corner, I'm showing the Babinski reflex. And if you are around a little baby, you can try this by stroking the sole of their feet, and you will see that their toes will fan out automatically. This is also a reflex that eventually goes away a little bit later than the Moro reflex. How about sleep and all that twitching and turning and smiling and sometimes even cooing during sleep? Well, some of you may know that not all of our sleep is the same. There are various stages that we go through during sleep. And as we all know, however, infants and newborns sleep a lot, right? That's how they spend most of their time. As you can see here in this graph, a newborn spends very little time awake, right? They spend about 16 hours or so sleeping in different phases of sleep. So awake is in purple, and the sleep part is in green and orange. And you can see that part of that sleep, about 50% or so of their sleep, is REM sleep, or at rapid eye movement. So as the name implies, here you may see a baby twitching and turning their eyes side to side. Some of you guys may have noticed this in newborns. They cycle through their sleep much faster than adults do. So if you wait, say, an hour or even less, you will see a baby cycling through these rapid eye movements. And this is an important phase of sleep because this is where memory consolidation takes place, even in adults. So, as you know, babies are learning a tremendous amount of information every day. They're learning almost everything except for those reflexes that they're born with. So, they need to consolidate these memories, and this happens mostly during sleep. So, allow your baby enough sleep because that's really important for their cognitive development and physical development as well. They're learning motor skills. Feel free to watch the video that's posted on Canvas of this cute little baby here smiling and twitching and moving its eyes during sleep. I have some fun facts here for those who are interested, and I guess everybody should be because you're in the class. Babies form more than 1 million new neural connections per second. We used to think it was several 100,000. Now we know it's about a million, according to new information that came out last year, actually. They start laying down their brain pathways for their senses at first, like hearing and seeing and tasting. But they also do this for other aspects of development, like cognitive development in terms of language and thinking. About half of all the energy that babies expend goes towards their brain. So, all of that food that they're eating, half of it is going towards brain development. And we know that from birth to 3 years is the fastest rate of brain development of the entire lifespan. So, lots going on here in terms of your baby's development. Feel free to look at these illustrations for further depiction of these facts that I'm outlining here. This is just a tip for parents, siblings, educators. Floor time with a child, including things like singing, reading, playing, exploring objects, either indoors or outdoors, is one of the best ways to stimulate your baby's brain development. So do that. Spend that time on the floor with the baby, or encourage people who are around you to do. Besides their cognitive skills, babies are also developing motor skills, including gross motor skills, which are movements of the trunk, arms, legs, so big movements. This would be things like walking, running, throwing things. But they're also developing fine motor skills, and these are smaller movements of fingers, wrists, etc. And these even include eye movements. And as we know, babies are not born being able to make eye contact. This develops later on, about a month or a few weeks into development. This is a chart illustrating physical development. They start off with this fetal posture. Then when they finally hold their chin up, parents are really proud, right? Oh my God, my baby just held its chin and chest up. This requires a lot of strength in their muscles, which they develop gradually. And then they start sitting up, holding on to things standing, crawling, and finally walking at about a year old. These are more fine motor skills as opposed to the gross motor skills illustrated above. So finally, why do babies do that? You should be able to answer these questions at this point. Twitch and smile during sleep. So that's what's happening during REM while they are consolidating their memories about both physical and cognitive development. Why do they turn their head side to side, mouth open? That's the rooting reflex. They're looking for a nipple to suck on and breastfeed. And flail out their arms and legs. That is the Moro reflex. That's it.